Call to order the 7 o'clock meeting of June 7th, Hopkinton Town Council to order with a moment of silent meditation and a salute to the flag.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Excellent. Up first, I'd like to reopen a hearing on a proposed zoning district use table amendment to prohibit additional gas/diesel stations. 1, reconvene the hearing on proposed text amendments to the town's zoning ordinance district use table. The intent of this proposed amendment is to prohibit any additional gas/diesel stations to allow electric charging stations in commercial, manufacturing, and neighborhood business zones, including the 2 current gas stations. This proposed amendment has been introduced and sponsored by former councilor Sylvia Thompson, scheduled on November 2nd, 2020, Town Council agenda, where the hearing date was set for February 16th, 2021. The hearing was continued to March 15th, 2021. On February 16th, 2021, the hearing was held and was continued to June 7th during the March 15th, 2021 Town Council meeting. Proposed amendments to the zoning ordinance Appendix A, Chapter 135, Section 5, District Use Regulations are shown in the bold italics. So with that being said, is the sponsor in attendance? If you are in attendance, okay. Sponsors in attendance. I'm assuming all fees are paid in notices because I've asked this question every time we've had a meeting. So I'm going to.
I'm here, Sylvia Thompson.
Okay, Sylvia. Sylvia, if you want to just, I mean, I know it's been a while. If you kind of wanted to, refresh your intent to the public, that'd be great.
Yes. What I'd like to do is speak to the current zoning that we have, and I'm referencing right now the first advisory from the planning board that because they divided them into 2, and the first advisory is in reference to gas diesel stations. So in reference to that first advisory, I just want to give a review of what we have. I want to make sure people that are listening know what we're talking about. What we currently have for zoning for the gas stations, and what I proposed and what the planning board proposed, and a little bit of history. First of all, what we currently have in zoning is that gasoline diesel service stations or gas stations are allowed are permitted, that's why there's a P, in commercial zones. In manufacturing zones, it requires a special use permit, and that means they'd have to go before the zoning board, get permission. If they got permission, then they have to get an aquifer protection permit in the overlay secondary, and they'd go before the planning board. So what I had proposed was that we not have any new gas stations. That's why I put all ends in. The planning board advisory did not want to take that step. They didn't want to prohibit any new gas stations that I had suggested, or the way that I had proposed it. But they did recommend changing one item. And what they changed, and when I say they changed an item, they did not obviously accept any of my suggestions that it be prohibited. But as for current zoning, what they did do, where commercial zones currently allow gas stations, they changed that permitted to a special use permit. So now, if that got adopted as is, commercial and manufacturing would both be requiring a special use permit, and the aquifer protection in the overlay districts remains. So what I want you to think about, and I ask you to think long and hard about whether to accept the planning board's advisory, which would allow in commercial and manufacturing zones an opening to allow any new gas stations. The reasons, or the two main reasons I proposed that we all ends, meaning that it's prohibited and we don't want any new gas stations in commercial and manufacturing. The two reasons I did that was it would ensure that Love's could never come back. The Love's truck stop proposal, I'm sure some of you have heard about. Or it wouldn't allow any new gas stations in town. And the other reason was 99% of our town residents rely, and commercial properties rely on groundwater. So currently, as I had mentioned, gas stations are allowed in commercial and in commercial property, commercial zones right now. And in manufacturing, it would require a special use permit. Love's, when it came up more than 10 years ago, Love's did take that route. They had to go before the zoning board. The Hopkinton Historical Association was an abutter to the proposal and fought it before the zoning board. But in order to fight it, they needed to raise money for a legal defense fund so they could hire experts, and that's just what they did. Our local residents donated thousands of dollars so that they could hire experts. Eventually, it took, it seemed like it was around 2 years before the zoning board, but they voted to deny Love's, and it was a 3-2 vote. It was not unanimous. Love's appealed it, and the town fought it all the way to the Supreme Court. So as the town fought it for these more than 10 years, the taxpayers had to foot the bill for tens of thousands, and I didn't ask finance for an accounting to add it all up, the legal fees, but I wouldn't be surprised if it was more than $100,000 in legal fees over those years to take it to the Supreme Court and finally win against Love's, the Love's truck stop proposal. So I want to note that the old Valeros, which I think got brought up previously, but I'll just put it out there. The old Valeros had a gas station that's right on Route 3 in Ashway. They discontinued the use. It's been more than a year, and it was a legal non-conforming use. And when you discontinue the use for more than a year, you don't get to use that. You don't get to do that anymore. But it is a neighborhood business, so that could be opened up as a convenience store or some neighborhood business use. But a gas station in that spot would not be allowed anymore. So currently, we have 2 gas stations in town. And we also have 3 gas stations within a mile away of the Rhode Island-Connecticut border. And at the other end, and that's the southern end, obviously, and at the other end, the Hope Valley end, we have 4 gas stations around Exit 3 in Richmond, which is 1, 2, 3 miles from Hope Valley. So we have easy access to 9 gas stations. Hopkinton residents have easy access to 9 gas stations. Now, the planning board advisory, as written, will allow gas stations or Love's to return. It doesn't mean they get approval from the zoning board, but keep in mind that that vote way back when was only 3-2. So what I'm asking you to think about is just think long and hard. Do we want to keep the door open to the possibility of new gas stations or Love-type proposals or not? So that's what I would say to you in reference to this advisory that was given to the planning board, from the planning board. When it comes to when we get on the topic of the charging stations, I have a suggestion. So that's it for now. So when you get to charging stations, if you want to kick it to me, I've just got like 2 sentences to give to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Council Moffett, can I comment?
You sure can. Councilor Geary, I'm going to open up for discussion for the town council. So have at it, sir.
All right, thank you. First of all, I want to say I have nothing but respect for ex-Councilor Thompson. She served this town more than anybody could. I generally agree with her decisions and recommendations, but I disagree with that one. This one right now. Basically what this is saying is I understand what she's saying about Loves. I sat many nights in here, went through the Loves thing in town council and when I got on zoning too. I realize we probably don't want to have that. But on the other hand, you're waving the flag saying Hopkinton is business unfriendly again. Because say somebody wants to come in and say the Edwards garage, I think they still have permits for tanks. I'm not 100% sure. But say somebody wants to come in or the family wants to sell it. Hey, we're going to make a world-class auto place here. We'll sell gas, XYZ, XYZ. That kind of throws up the thing that, well, maybe we won't go to Hopkinton. We'll go to Hope Valley. We'll go to Wesley. Let me give you some numbers on, on the gas stations, the 2 gas stations in town. We're just crazy full this weekend. The Gulf Station down in my neck of the woods on 216, or the old Charlie's Mobile, if you would. Saturday, they did 5,200 gallons of gas. Sunday, they did 5,350. That's a lot of money. Now, Spicer's, I really couldn't get an answer, but yesterday they did a little over $11,000 in gas and they're getting new pumps now. So you've got people coming from Connecticut all over the place using our gas stations, which is good. That's, it's definitely good for business. I think if we went back and tailored this amendment that Councilor Thompson's put up, maybe to, hey, say we can do gas stations and small diesel gas station with that, kind of like what they do at Gulf or what they do at Spicer. But to sit there and say nobody can have a gas station out of fear that Loves might come back is kind of a little bit of a stretch.
Well, Councilor Hurst, first of all, I did serve with Councilor Thompson, and she's always been an activist. And my concern is this. This proposal would be good if it was in the future. The dilemma is most people, and for the foreseeable future, are going to be using gasoline as fuel. And we will eventually transition into an area where we have electric cars or hybrid cars, but that is nowhere soon. So most of us drive cars that were run by gasoline. And we only have 2 at the present time in Hopkinton in the southern part of town where I live, but it should be a potential for those people in the northern part of town to have that. I would be receptive to having a commercial with a special use permit, so the zoning board could look at it. Of course, it would incur fees, but I don't think that we shouldn't prohibit them, especially in light of the fact that electric cars are a thing they're going to be with us in due time, but most of us don't drive electric cars or hybrid cars. So I think that option of using gasoline for fuel should be there. And if we're concerned about Love's proposal coming forward, we could ask our solicitor to design an ordinance that would probably, if it's workable legally, to restrict the amount of gas, because I know big truck stops, big truck stops sell a lot more gas than a small operation. But it does concern me because we're not totally in the electric age as far as cars are, and maybe it's too restrictive at this point in time where we are. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilor Hurst. Is there any other discussion?
Yeah, yeah, President Moffett.
Sure,
Maybe,
go ahead, sir.
maybe, Councilor Seifel, maybe we could put something in, maybe, or something, maybe no trucks bigger than GVW, blah, blah, blah. You know, that maybe that would deter or something like that from a small gas station. Because a lot of people do drive diesel trucks. It could be, you know, guys that do paving, farming equipment, stuff like that. You know, that would be the caveat to it. If we could maybe come up with a GVW, hey, no gas stations at above this. But I know both gas stations were slammed this weekend. And you've got people coming from all over the place. But, you know, we've talked about this before about business, and I'm going to leave it at that. Thank you, Council President.
Thank you, Mike, for sharing your views. I appreciate it. Sharon or Bob, do you have anything? Or
Yeah, Council President Bob Marvel here.
sure, go ahead, sir.
I guess I'll give the counterpoint to that part of the discussion. I've got two points that I want to make. The first is with regard to the land use table and how, you know, if we're going to prohibit it all across the board or permit as special use in certain areas. The way I look at it is, as a town councilor, you know, I think, or as a town council, our first responsibility is to the protection of the town and protection of the townspeople. And I think one of the most important things that we have to consider when doing that is the protection of our aquifer and the drinking water that, you know, everyone in town relies on. So for that, I would be in favor of prohibiting new gasoline and diesel stations all across the board. With regard to the second point, and that being, you know, being business friendly or business unfriendly, or rather, you know, wanting to bring new business into town. I'm definitely in favor of bringing new business into town. I just don't think that we should, you know, have an opinion that, you know, any business should, you know, we should be welcoming into town. I don't think that we are obligated to any, you know, any business. I think that we can decide what businesses are appropriate for this town. And that's what I think. I don't think that gas stations and new gas stations would necessarily be appropriate to town. Thanks.
Thank you, sir. This is Councilor Moffett. I would like to kind of just almost reflect what Councilor Marvel said as far as, you know, not, you know, we can't just allow any business in town. I am absolutely for business. The reason why I am for this amendment, the way that is written by Ms. Thompson, is a simple fact, as she stated earlier. There is access to 9 gas stations in the Hopkinton area. If you just cross right over the border into North Stonington, where, you know, a lot of us commute and jump on 95, there's 3 gas stations there. And most likely you're probably either driving by the 2 that are in Ashaway if you are going that route. So, you know, the argument that, you know, we need more gas stations, we need more availability, I just don't buy that. And, you know, the fact that we can go to Wyoming and Richmond and there's 4 more gas stations, I just don't, that just doesn't sit well with me. I do not want to leave the door open for anything. Although I do like Councilor Geary's idea, you know, regarding, you know, potential size-wise and stuff like that. But, you know, until I saw some sort of language or anything like that, I can't agree to that. So as it's written, I am in favor of Ms. Thompson's amendment.
Steve,
Yes, Sharon.
I would reflect the same views as Bob Marvel. I worry about the water, the aquifer. So I agree with the proposed amendment.
I would just say, Councilor Hurst, I believe that, and I'll stand corrected, that I think the state has been more restrictive on gasoline tanks and where they're stored, and I believe they have to be no longer buried. I could be wrong on that. And, but anyways, I consider myself an environmentalist, but I also have to be practical in the sense that most people drive vehicles that are operated by gasoline, and the transition to electric powered vehicles is not close by in time, and I think that we should reflect on that reality. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. I mean, Councilor Hurst. This is Councilor Moffett again. You know, kind of add, you know, another angle to it is, you know, I mean, and again, I mean, we could probably never find this answer out, but, you know, I can honestly say that I drive by the gas stations in Ashaway because I choose to get gas kind of by where I work. I mean, it's cheaper. So, I mean, I would venture to guess that, you know, I mean, we have options for gas stations everywhere. We drive, I mean, again, everybody uses the car to get from A to B. I mean, there are gas stations everywhere. And I personally prefer that the gas stations, you know, be where they are and not here. So, and again, I like to reiterate that I don't want to open that door for a truck stop style gas station anywhere in Hopkinton. I just don't want to see it. Thank you.
Council President?
Yes, sir.
Marvel, I just got one other comment regarding Councilor Hurst's comment about, you know, electric vehicles not being in the near future. I think you'd be surprised how close we are to all electric vehicles, and we've had hybrid vehicles for forever. One of my cars is a Toyota Prius. It's a 2013. So back in 2013, they were making hybrids. And I can tell you, I drove that car from here to Virginia before I had to fill up the tank. So, you know, the technology's here. It's starting to be mainstream with auto manufacturers now really embracing electric vehicles. And I think you're going to see an explosion of electric vehicles now in the very near future.
Council President, can I retort?
Absolutely,
Councilor
sir.
Marbles? For someone that's worked on electrical vehicles, the technology is there, but there's still a long way to go. And to power up your little electric vehicle, it requires fossil fuel. That's all I'm going to say.
Thank you, Councilor Geary.
And remember, Councilor Gary just retired to Frito-Lay, and he had to deal with those issues. Thank you.
Actually, congratulations, Councilor Geary.
Thank you.
Okay. If there's not any more discussion on the gas/diesel stations, I would like to allow Ms. Thompson to speak on her concerns regarding the electric charging stations. So I see that she has her hand there, and I would invite her to speak.
Am I still unmuted?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, okay. As far as the charging stations are concerned, what I'd suggest you do, if in reference to the gas stations, I know you have 2 advisories coming in. Perhaps, and legal can help you with this, perhaps you can close the hearing on the gasoline and set it for a decision on that part, the gasoline stations. But when it comes to the charging stations, perhaps you would refer the planning board's advisory to our town engineering firm and have them come back with language and bring it to the planning board so that they can give you a new advisory. And of course, that would take a little time. So perhaps you could extend the hearing for if legal is okay with this, extend the hearing on the charging stations until, I don't know, September, and gives everybody time to come up with the language, get it to planning board. So that's the only suggestion I had as far as the charging stations are concerned, and follow along with what the planning board had recommended, and find a way to get them the information. Thank you.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
President Moffat, I have a question for Sylvia real quick.
Absolutely.
Sylvia, it's Mike. How, off the top of your head, I am in favor of EV stations. You know, that is definitely a good thing. Off the top of your head, do you have an idea of what it costs and permits and all that to put one in? Because the owner of the Gulf station on 216 was inquiring about it.
No, I have no idea. And, you know, the current gas stations may have the right to do that, and I wouldn't be surprised if they had the right to do that right now. It's just that in the future, if you take up the charging stations, and by the way, I only meant commercial. Anybody can put in a charging station in their residence. That's their business, and of course they'd have to pull a permit from building and zoning. But so I only spoke to the commercial, but I do not know how much it might cost. But I do hope that in the future we do have the availability of business owners, commercial, manufacturing, to be able to have a charging station on their property if they choose. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Sylvia.
Excellent. Yes, Sharon, go ahead.
Is it possible for that 559 category to have the word, just have the word commercial electric charging station? I'm not sure I understand why she has no for RFR 80 and RES 1 when she just said, if you personally want to have one at your house, do these ends affect that? That's my question, I guess. You know, if you want to have one in your house and you live in RFR 80 or RES 1, putting these ends there, does that affect that you can't have it at your house? Unless you call these electric charging stations commercial size or whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, Sharon, I did notice on the advisory opinion here, though, that there was a motion made or with an asterisk here. Ms. Whitehead, she wanted to be a little more specific regarding I want to say the asterisk that is in their advisory. There's an asterisk on it that I think it's, hold on one second. Yes, it says, Ms. Simchenia said that she would amend the motion to specify that recommendation that the ends under RFR 80 and RS1 are contingent on those being no resale of electricity at those charging stations. So that would be, so I'm not sure, again, I'm not a lawyer, I'm not an expert on some of this, so I don't know. Councilor Seipel, could you kind of speak to that potentially?
You need to pull up the advisory opinion.
Well, let me ask this while you're looking that up. Ms. Thompson's recommendation that we, move forward with the decision on the gas/diesel stations and, close this hearing and then kind of continue the hearing on electric charging stations, for further review by the town engineering firm. I think that's a great idea. Because obviously none of us are experts, and we should probably rely on the experts in the engineering firms to kind of come up with some standards and some language for that. So,
well, you certainly don't need to vote. I mean, you can certainly treat them as separate issues.
Sure.
The gas stations and the electric charging can be handled separately.
So, with that being said, if we move the electric charging stations down the road, obviously the hearing is still open. So we could kind of come to that or kind of answer my question farther down the road. That's all.
Yes,
You think that's fair?
yes.
Okay, excellent. All right. So with that being said, Sharon, are you satisfied with that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. All right. So with that being said, if we're going to close the hearing on gas/diesel and set a date for a vote, and
We
then
didn't
continue
have
the electric
public
charge.
comment. We didn't have public comment.
Right. No, I'm just talking. I
Okay.
haven't closed the hearing. I'm just not really thinking out loud, but just kind of going through this. So yes, I'm going to open it up for public comment. So I kind of think you were kind of figuring out which direction I was going. So with public comment, if we have any public comment on this topic only, could you please raise your hand? And I will unmute you. Or, yeah, thank you. Okay. I think this is Mr. Perry. Mr. Perry, do you have a question, comment, or concern regarding this?
Yes, as you said that you go out of town to get gasoline. When you have only 2 gas stations, it kind of makes it that they can set their own price. And as far as having a truck stop style gas station coming into the town, the only way you have to eliminate that is by setting a size of the tank. You could still have your smaller gas stations, but by making the size of the storage tank smaller, where they cannot feed a big station, and also the tanks today can be put in containment.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Perry. Do you have any more comments?
No, that'll do it for now. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Are there any more comments from the public? Okay, not hearing any more questions from the public. Do I have a motion to close the hearing on gasoline/diesel service stations and set a date, time, and place for a decision?
Mr. President, Councilman Hurst, I make a motion that we adjourn the hearing and set a date for a decision on this proposed ordinance.
Okay. Marita, are you able to set dates? I think we could probably move this. I mean, and this is just my opinion. You tell me whether or not. I was thinking potentially at the next town council meeting.
I don't believe that motion was seconded.
Oh, my bad. Well, I mean, I just wanted to. All right, that's fine. All right, I apologize. Is there a second to Mr. Hurst's motion? You're on mute, Bob.
I'll second. It's Bob Marvel. I'll second.
Thank you. We have a motion and a second. All in favor?
Gary, aye. Hurst, aye.
Marvel, aye.
Davis, aye.
And Moffat, aye. Okay, the hearing on the amendments to the gasoline diesel service station is closed, and we will set a time and date. So now I will ask Marita, do we have availability at the next meeting?
I believe June 21st.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, you can, I believe so.
Okay, because I mean, it's just a decision. It shouldn't be too much. So so does anyone have a problem with it being set for the next regularly scheduled town council meeting?
No, I think it should be a quick vote. I think it would appear that it would be a 3-2 vote in favor, but we're seeing how it transpires. And but I think June 21st, and we can get it done. Thank you.
Maybe,
Excellent.
maybe 6:30, Council President? Or do you want to come in a little bit earlier? 'Cause-
Well, we have something else that we're gonna have.
Not necessarily, but
Not 6:30.
6:45? I mean,
I think we should start at 7 o'clock.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think we should start, and this is just, we should start the regular scheduled meeting at 7 o'clock to give us any, some maybe some time for an executive session potentially. We don't know whether that's going to pop up. I mean, we may not know, within the next 10 days or so before the agenda needs to be posted. So that's just my recommendation, Mike. I think this will be quick. I don't think it's going to add any more time to. Add that much time to our meeting. So
Usually when we
Well,
do.
yeah, no, trust me, I'm in.
No, I mean,
Under new business, we would be talking about that time frame. But go ahead.
I'm just saying, Steve, was usually we come in a little bit earlier when we have a special vote before we go into our 7 o'clock session. But if you're good with 7, I'm fine. I'm all set.
All right, fine. That sounds good. Thanks for your input, Mike, or Council. So yes, Marita, if we could schedule or put that or pencil that down, that would be fantastic.
We don't have to, I don't think we need a specific time at 7 o'clock.
No, a date, Scott. The 21st.
21st of June.
Yes, sir.
You want me to make a motion? I make a motion that the decision on the proposed zoning district use amendment to prohibit additional gas diesel stations be voted on June, at the June 21st, 2020 regular meeting.
2021.
There's a second.
Council President, second.
All in favor?
First, aye.
Davis, aye.
Marvel, aye.
Moffett? And I think Bob's computer might be frozen. Aye, Bob?
Yep,
Okay, aye.
aye. Sorry, I did that
Motion
already.
passes. June 21st is the date set to for a decision. Thank you. All right, now do I have a motion to continue the hearing on electric charging stations?
So moved. Councilor Hurst, so moved.
Do I have a second?
And get additional information.
And yes, all right. Yes, so if you can make that to so we can reach out to the engineering firm and square that all away. That'd be great.
Marvel, I second.
All in favor?
First, aye.
Gary, aye.
Marvel,
Davis,
aye.
And Moffat, aye. Marita, can we schedule that for sometime in September? I think that's a pretty good time frame. I think that it's about 3 months from now, so I think that'll give us some time to investigate.
September 6th is a holiday, so if you have your meeting on the 7th on a Tuesday, that would be the first meeting, and the second meeting is the 20th of September.
I think the 7th should be sufficient with the help of computers and internet and checking. We should be able to get that in that time frame.
Sure. Is there any discussion on that? Are we good with
I
that?
make a motion that we put this on the September 7th, 2021 agenda.
Excellent. Is there a second?
Mr. President, second.
All in favor?
First, aye.
Marvel,
Davis,
aye.
aye. Davis, aye.
Moffat, aye. Okay, motion passes. A date of September 7th has been set to continue the hearing on electric charging stations. Excellent. All right, up next is the consent agenda. Approved town council meeting minutes of May 17th, 2021. Set Tuesday, July 6th, 2021 as the first meeting in July due to the Independence Day holiday. Set Tuesday, September 7th as the first town council meeting in September due to the Labor Day holiday. Approve refunds due to overpayments by escrow companies submitted by the tax collector. Ratify and approve the 15th local declaration of emergencies from June 7th, 2021 to July 6th, 2021.
Mr. President,
Yes.
Councilor Hurst, I move that we adopt the consent agenda.
Is there a second?
Mr. President, Council Gary, I second it.
And all in favor?
First, aye.
Marvel, aye.
Davis, aye.
Moffat, aye. Motion passes. Consent agenda is approved. All right, up next is new business. Discuss and consider setting June 21st for a 90-minute QPR suicide prevention training sponsored by Counselor Davis. Counselor Davis, would you like to say anything regarding this?
Yes, I'm also on the committee for the Healthy Minds and Healthy Bodies, and I also am on the Charahoe. I visited the Charahoe Youth Council, and the policeman representative there said that he had made this kind of training available to Richmond Town Council, and I thought that it would be good for us. I've had a friend who committed suicide, and I could not help her, and I just think that with all of the stress that's out here due to the pandemic, etc., that it would be good training for us. Thank you.
Mr. President, Councilman Harris, I'd like to take a stand against this program. I had a close friend that committed suicide, and I had talked to him, and I still think of him. But the town council should be focusing on things that we really have an impact as far as town policies and ordinances and things of that nature. 90 minutes is a long time. I don't object to our police department being involved, the Wood River Health Services, or the South Shore Mental Health Clinic and things of that nature. Or I believe also, if I haven't said it, the police department, but I'm not interested in taking 90 minutes to have this proposal. I think we have to be cognizant of mental health issues and suicide, but I think the town council time should be better spent focusing on things that we definitely have an impact because of the powers we have as members of town council. Thank you.
All right, Scott. This is Counselor Moffitt. I just want to say for the record that I am in favor of what Counselor Davis has here. I think taking 90 minutes out of my life and potentially the residents of Hopkinton, especially if this is going to be posted on an agenda and potentially posted on the town website. I think it's a very worthy discussion. I think either mental illness or depression is a very serious thing. So I am willing to host this without reservation. So thank you.
Mr. President, Council Gary.
Yes, sir.
I support this. I understand, trust me, we all know people, and sometimes even in the veteran world, we don't see it until after it's too late. I support this, but I will not attend it. I've done it for the last 6 years with my prior employer, and we have a refresher every other month at the VFW post I'm a member of.
That's understandable. Thank you, Mike. Appreciate it.
Council President, Bob Marvel here. I'll weigh in. I definitely am in favor of this. I think 90 minutes is 90 minutes well spent. We can have it during a town council meeting, or we can have it on a different night. I don't really care, but I would attend it.
Absolutely. Councilor Davis, is this something that you're hard set on it being at a council meeting? Do you think is there any other avenue, and maybe, I don't know, scheduling it at a different time, or you think that our audience will be better at a town council meeting?
Oh, I'm sure that he could do it any time. That would be good for us. I just thought we're doing a lot of things at 6 o'clock on the same night, and we wouldn't have to come out a second time. And I just, I thought it would work on the 21st.
I mean, 21st is fine with me. I mean, it is the longest day of the year, right? Isn't it? I mean,
Summer.
Yeah.
Excellent. So I'm in favor of it. Is it something we need to make a motion on, or is it something that we kind of poll voted on and Councilor Geary, Davis, and Marvel and I kind of swung it in that direction, and we can just schedule it.
Okay. Yes.
I'm fine with that. So again, Councilor Geary has given good reason as to why he wouldn't be in attendance, and I 100% respect that. Sounds like Councilor Hurst probably will not be, but I would like to schedule it. So we'll schedule it. So I will have it put on the agenda for that day.
Okay, so do you want to do it at 6, so that we would not start the regular session till 7:30, or would you want to start earlier than 6?
I would really like to, I say 6:30. 6:30, that'll kind of give us in at least until the 8 o'clock hour. It won't be too bad. I really like to leave some time open in meetings, I mean, if we need an executive session, I mean, we never know. I mean, unless people want to come in at 5, for a meeting, that really won't work for me personally.
All right.
But I think 6:30 would absolutely be fine. If Bob, does 6:30 work for you?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, excellent. So Marita, if you could just make note of that, and I will follow up with Lisa regarding the agenda.
Sure. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Up next is discuss and consider development of a charge for the Potter Hill Dam Committee including establishing a suitable name.
Mr. President, I have a couple of thoughts on that, and I got to go to my cheat notes.
Please share them.
I put them. Okay, basically, I'd like to have the name changed to the Potter Hill Dam and Pawcatuck River Committee, because the issues specifically are not strictly related to the dam, but the Pawcatuck River, it impacts people's wells, it impacts one of the things, and I did go to the Zoom-led meeting, and I was actually the only councilman on either side of the river to go. They were, one of the reasons that was being sold about taking.
Sorry to interrupt, Scott, but which meeting are you just talking about? That you were the only council
Zoom
member to
meeting that
attend?
the DEM had with Westerly and Hopkinton, facilitated by Gina Fuller.
The one you and Council Margaret went to. Steve.
Oh,
Not that
okay.
one.
So,
No,
so
not
Scott,
that
you weren't
one.
the only one that went.
No, that was a Zoom meeting. This is the Zoom meeting.
Oh, okay. All right.
That was before when we had the tour.
Scott, please don't act like you're the only one that cares, please. I would really appreciate it.
I didn't say that, did I?
I mean, you insinuated it. I mean,
I don't
slightly.
think I'm insinuating anything. But I think the Potter Hill Dam, Pawcatuck River. And another thing that, trying to look for my cheat notes, that we should look at is also the financial implications of if the DEM, because we're going to have DEM involved in whether or not they're going to have low-cost loans for people that have well concerns, which I think is a very important aspect. And maybe I'll find my cheat notes before other people talk, but that's about it. And I would like to be the liaison to the committee, but anyways, I will let other people talk. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. All right. Yeah, this is Councilor Moffitt here. I, for a name, I mean, it kind of is about the dam. I mean, that's, the dam changes, that's what changes everything. It's a ripple effect. So the dam stays there, things stay the same unless the dam, breaches or whatever. So, I mean, this is about the dam. So I would like to see the name, the Potter Hill Dam Information Committee, because I would like to see this committee tasked with gathering information.
Excellent.
Oh.
Agree with that.
I mean, I like to respond.
From both sides. I mean, that's it. It's like,
Break it up.
absolutely respond.
I just found my cheat notes, and I'll let, if I can say that. My cheat notes were financial support and loans for private residences if river and dam situations change, which I think is important because what we're hearing from residents specifically is about I believe it was Mr. Duxter talked about what it would cost. It would be $12,000 plus because he has a point, said of a driven well. And if the GM goes ahead with this, whether or not those people are going to have the back from state government. And the other issue I think that's relevant is debris from the mill impacting neighboring properties and in regards to Hopkinton and the local Ashway Fire District. As you know, years ago when there was a fire at that mill, the Ashway firemen were fighting that fire. And what really concerns me is the fact that the state has the authority to pretty much do what they want regardless of what the towns want. So I think the town council, whatever we finally decide to do, take a very firm stand, whether or not the state goes along with us on this issue, take a stand for our town, and just keep in mind that the boundary of that river is in the middle of that river. If you look at the boundaries of the town of Hopkinton, and also keep in mind that part of that mill property is in the town of Hopkinton. Thank you. And I'm sorry for taking so much time.
Council President,
Yes, sir.
I think, Council, I think that's an excellent name for it. I think the candidates we interviewed is definitely a good start. Where we entered 3 or 4. The only other thing I would maybe suggest, and I know we're all tight on time and it's tough, is once we get our committee together, maybe we could all sit down with the Wesley Town Council somehow and kind of see what their view is and see if we can all of a sudden come to like a meeting in the middle. Maybe that's my own suggestion.
Council Geary, I think that is a fabulous idea. I think that is definitely something there that I think we all need to sit down at the table. And again, the information, we need as much information as we possibly can. We can't assume things. We can't think things. I mean, it's going to affect people in different ways. So I would like to, looking at this thing that Lisa had put in our thing, regarding the, areas of study, what their marching orders are going to be. I mean, I really think that, there needs to be, and I think Mr. Duxted had mentioned earlier, I mean, having an open mind was important, in looking at everything and how, there can, we can come to a kind of an amenable possible, resolution on how it happens. I mean, it's going to affect lots of people. I just don't want it to get too hard one way or the other. I mean, this is a group that's, going to be sanctioned by the town council. I would like, minds on it that are, bring the pros and the cons to the table, and we're not just lining up with cons. I really think if we gather all the information and there's no misinformation, I think we can hopefully, come up with something, or at least let the people in town know. I mean, that's really what it is a fact-finding kind of mission, coming up with all the things that, Councilor Hurst had mentioned, wells, property values. I mean, we have, effects on a wildlife habitat, I mean, the effects on, riverfront property and docks. I mean, there are people who own docks and they may no longer have access to the river from their dock if this happens. But, the dam is old. And to back up a little bit, I really like that idea, Council Geary, as far as, having a meeting with the, the Wesley Town Council and all the players that are involved here. So, I kind of look forward to that. I look forward to appointing the people that we interviewed earlier. I got a real good feel for their interest. You could tell their passion for this issue. So that's all I have to add at this moment.
I just would like to say one thing, and that's in regard to statements that I think people are making. I don't compare the situation at Pot Hill to the same as the Bradford. That dam was a lot larger than the dam at Bradford, and some people are apparently saying or comparing the two, and I don't think there's really a comparison between the two. I know there's a concern about the fish ladder and things like that, but I think it's not fair to the topic to suggest that the Bradford situation is identical or similar to the one at Potter Hill. I just want to say that whether or not the dam should go down or not, I'm more concerned about what influence we're going to have with the state. State pretty much does what it wants to do. That's what's in my mind right now. Thank you.
Steve?
Yes, Sharon, please go ahead.
I did want to mention that there is the funding status of this project is only going to be no action or partial or full dam removal. And so the people who are on this committee really need to find out what is available for them, because those are the only two choices that they'll have.
Council President Bob Marvel, I'd like to make a comment. On this draft charter for this committee, one of the things that I think is potentially missing from this is what do we expect the outcome to be from this committee? In other words, I don't think this is going to be a permanent committee, obviously, because something's going to finish either way with the dam, and then we would most likely disperse the committee. But what do we want out of the committee? Do we want just concise set of information? Do we want a recommendation? Do we want I'm not sure. So I'm just asking what we think.
That's a great point. So, I mean, to kind of back up a little bit, I mean, we've all kind of, had our comments here. So, on this draft, like you said, so, I mean, there's, the membership. Do we want it to be 5 or 7 people? I mean, do we have a consensus on how we feel about that?
Mr. President, I ran into somebody yesterday who applied, and I gave her an application. I think we have 6 people interested. I think we should leave it at 7, and we can always fill a vacancy. I think it's crucial that we get this committee going because it's a temporary committee. It's not a similar committee like the planning board or the zoning board or the historic district commission. It's not it's a special committee set up for a special task. And I know years ago, and I was just thinking of that, we had a prison study committee when they were thinking about a prison study group, and they were thinking about putting a federal prison in Hope Valley many years ago. So I think these type of committees should, say that we expect them to give a report and advise us from time to time and any developments we should be on the lookout for. Basically, what we should do as a council is take stands and inform the DEM and our state legislators of our position and share any of our information with the Wesley Town Council. That's the best approach that I see for this.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the task should be, I mean, we should have a goal to, and I think from what I understood from what Bob said is, we kind of maybe should have a recommendation probably would be best based on all the information that's been gathered. Bob, is that kind of what you're getting at?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Well,
All right,
I will make a motion that this committee be directed as the charges presented by the town, as well as coming up with recommendations to the town council on relevant things they think should be considered by the town council. And I would hope that they would look at, I'll make that a motion, and then I might add the two things that I wanted, so.
Well, why don't, Scott, can we have a little farther conversation just for a couple minutes here? Because before you make that motion, because it may kind of, help you make your motion.
I'll withdraw my motion then.
Yes, thank you. Because we have some guidelines, I mean, obviously we're going to need a, chairman. We're going to need to establish, regular scheduled meetings, stuff like that, frequency, location, post agendas, keep minutes and meetings in accordance with open meetings laws. They're going to have to follow, similar protocol to what we do. I mean, there needs to be potential, public act.
Well, I'm sure that usually the town
Access to
clerk
this type
and
of,
the committee is pretty
to this
basic. So she can set up an initial meeting about electing a chair or secretary and how they're going to set up their agenda. So they have to set up a meeting that the clerk can prepare an agenda, which would be pretty basic, elect offices and have a general discussion on where they're going to proceed and also discuss their charge, whatever the town council chooses to adopt tonight.
Okay. Sounds good.
I'm trying to work with the councils. I know I can be contrarian and have a stop Bill Hurst moment all the time. I'm trying to be good.
Awareness is awesome, Scott. That's carry on.
Are we going to adopt the charge tonight?
I think we should. I think we have interested people. I think that's something we should do. I mean, our next meeting isn't for another 2 weeks.
Okay, what I would like to do is do the ones listed in the Pot Hill Dam Study Committee, and I'd like to add the ones that I'm interested in. The financial support and loans for private residents if river and dam situations change, and also debris from mill impacting neighboring properties and the town of Hopkinton in the local fire district, local Ashway Fire District. The specific problem being that mill still has wooden structures, and usually it impacts fire protection from Ashway, because Ashway ends up fighting a lot of the fires there, even though technically it's in the Wesley Fire District. So there's a well-known picture that was taken of the Ashway firemen in the river fighting the fire at the mill. And there's probably more than one, but there's one that stands out in my mind. So what I'd like to do, Mr. President, is adopt all the areas of study, repair of the fish ladder, dam removal pros and cons, effects to the water level if the dam is removed, effects on wells, effects on riverfront property docks, effect on property values, effect on wildlife habitat, and dam repair restoration. And I'll make that, I move that we adopt that, and I might come back with my own personal ones, but the ones that are in the packet, I make a motion, we adopt that as part of the charge to the Potty Hill Dam Impact Committee.
Okay, and then Scott, just one thing. So the time frame, you want to just say it's until it's done, right? I mean, that's it.
Yeah, it's an indefinite period until it's discharged by the town council.
Okay. Is there any other discussion on this? Does anyone want to add to that, the areas of study there?
I'm going to add in a separate motion.
Okay.
Come back
Okay.
motion, but
Sure.
I make that a motion. I hope I get a second.
Okay.
I'll second it. This is Counselor Davis.
All in favor?
Did you,
Yeah.
First eye, Gary, aye.
Davis,
Aye.
And Moffat,
Davis.
aye. Motion passes.
Okay, Mr. President, I'd like to add, and these are for myself, and I didn't want to muddy the waters of what the town clerk prepared. I move that this committee also be directed to study the debris from mill impacting neighboring properties and the town of Hopkinton and the local Ashway Fire District, and financial support and loans for private residences if river and dam situation has changed. And those are my two personal ones. I make a motion that they be included.
I'll second that.
I don't know if you can second.
Okay.
I'll second. This is Bob.
Okay.
All in favor?
Gary, aye.
First, aye.
Davis,
And Moffat, aye. Motion passes. Well,
Thank you.
I see Gina Fuller's name here. I'm going to allow her to talk. Miss Fuller, I believe I unmuted you.
Hi there, can you hear me?
yeah.
Okay, thank
You
you.
can.
Hi, Gina
Sorry,
Fuller,
Sal, you're here.
19 Mariah Drive, Westerly, District Manager of the Southern Rhode Island Conservation District. I think it's great that you folks are getting, setting up a committee to get some answers for the Potter Hill Mill project. However, I would like to, let you all know that we are having our second, which is only our second informational meeting on Thursday night at 6 p.m. At that time, we'll have information on the wetlands, on wildlife. We'll have the results of our well study and additional information that we can provide to you. So we have tried to be very inclusive and make sure, welcome you into the process. We'd be happy to, once you get your committee up and running, to provide an opportunity for them to ask questions. But you should be aware that we've had that meeting earlier in the year, and we've got one on Thursday night, and both of them are recorded and available on the Town of Westerly's website. And as well as all of the information as we obtain it will be there. So their job of gathering information could be made quite simple for them. So I just wanted to make sure everyone got our email and you are aware that we are having our second informational meeting.
Thank you. Miss Fuller, I would like to add that, and I don't know what kind of connection you have.
Oh, no.
The Wesley website, but it is very difficult to find anything on the Potter Hill Dam situation on the Wesley website. So it's even more challenging, I think, than they have a very nice website, but it's very challenging to find any of that information. It's not really front and center.
Okay, well, the flyer that I sent to you and the flyer for the last meeting, and I believe your website will have a clear link to Westerly.
Okay.
.gov/Potter Hill is what I think it is off the top of my head. But I will double check that because I thought the last time I looked at Westerly's website that there was a prominent link on the home landing page that said Potter Hill information.
Okay.
And if it's not, it will be there.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, thank you for letting us know.
Thanks, Gina.
You're welcome. And thank you. I don't really have anything else unless anybody has any specific questions. I'm going to drop.
Any questions for Ms. Fuller?
Thanks for your interest in the issue, Gina. This is Scott.
Thanks, Scott.
And thank you for speaking, Ms. Fuller. Appreciate it.
Yep, no problem. Thanks. Bye-bye.
All right. Where are we at here? I see one other hand up. I'm going to allow them to talk. 537-8222. You're unmuted. Or I'm sorry, unmute yourself. Thank you.
Hi, this is Joe Moreau. I just want to mention about this Potter Hill Mill. A couple of weeks back, I had sent an email to a member of our council, and I was looking for some contact information if someone would contact me concerning that. I lived in Coventry for over 40 years, and I'm not sure if you're aware of the similar problems that Coventry is having on Johnson's Pond. I have a friend whose daughter lives right there on Johnson's Pond, and they are suffering from their property values, the lack of water, their well water, the issues they're having with their docks. And I thought it would be helpful to us if we could reach out to possibly the Coventry Johnson's Pond Association. They've done a lot of work over the years, and they may be able to help our town in correcting the situation that could potentially be happening with the issues with the water. That's all I wanted to say. I will raise my hand a little bit later, though. Thanks.
Thank you, Joe.
You're welcome.
All right. Up next, discuss, consider, and possibly vote to appoint members of the Potter Hill Dam Committee.
Mr. President, I think the council might not be agreeable to this, but I would like to advocate for two people that were interviewed by the council who are outstanding candidates. One is Marie Ward, who just applied today. She's an educator in Providence. She lives on River Road.
I know Miss Ward.
She hasn't been interviewed. I will nominate her. And the other person is Robert Jelinas. Robert Jelinas runs, better known as the French Village. It's very much flooded. It's almost across from the car dealership on Route 3 in Ashway, just before you get into Westerly. And that piece of property is well known for being flooded. He's a community spirited guy. He actually ran for the General Assembly decades ago in Woonsocket. And I strongly support both candidates, and I'm going to nominate them even though they weren't interviewed. Normally, I wouldn't do that, but it's a special committee. It's not like the planning board or the zoning board. So I hope I get some support on that. They're quality people, and they have a vested interest in like close proximity to that river. And I will stake my reputation on their ability to reflect well on the town of Hopkinton and take the situation seriously. I think Mr. Jelinas is in his 70s, so I don't think, I think his wife was going to do the meeting or something, but I don't think he normally does this type of Zoom type stuff. So I think we should give him a little wiggle room, if you will, and to appoint him in Marie Ward. But I support all the candidates. I think they bring strength. They're all appointed. That would bring us to 6, and we still have an opening if somebody else at the last minute express an interest. But so I will. Should we nominate?
Scott, I will add that I know Miss Ward, and this is Steve Moffett, Councilor Moffett, and I would my wife at one point taught in Providence and knows Miss Ward, and I know Miss Ward from Our Lady of Victory. So I would support you in that in your efforts there.
I do plan to nominate Mr. Jelinas, and hopefully I'll get 3 councilors to agree to that. But I think the problem is because it's a special committee and also because of this technology, really pulls back the ability of the people to really get out and do the normal type thing. Thank you.
Understood. So with that being said, you know, and this is up for discussion with the rest of the council here, is that is this something that we can just kind of make a motion to approve all those that we interviewed, and instead of going one by one through the whole list here? I mean, as long as we name off who we are nominating.
Okay, I'll make a motion that we appoint to the Potty Hill Dam Impact Committee James Duxter, Roger Perry, Howard Mills, and Carl Rosen, that we all personally interviewed tonight.
Do I have a second?
Mr. President, second.
All in favor?
First, aye.
Gary, aye.
Marvel, I.
Davis, aye.
And Moffat, aye. Motion passes. Mr. Duxton, Mr. Perry, Mr. Rosen, and Mr. Mills are all appointed to the committee. So, Scott, how do you want to handle your recommendations? Do you want to find out?
Well, I will nominate Mr. Delinas, and if he's rejected, I will talk to him and try to get him to an interview. But he is at the French Village, which is heavily flooded. He knows the issues. He's run for the General Assembly years ago. He's a solid person. So I make a motion that Robert Delinas be appointed to the Potty Hill Dam Impact Committee.
Is there a second?
Mr. Council President, second.
All in favor?
First, aye.
Gary, aye.
Marvel, I.
Davis, aye.
And Moffat, aye.
I thank you for doing that and taking my word for it. Mr. President, it's a great pleasure because she's an energetic person and who married into one of our long area families, the Ward family. I take pride in nominating Marie Ward to the Potty Hill Dam Impact Committee.
Do I have a second?
Council President Moffat, second.
All in favor?
First, aye.
Marvel, I.
Moffat, aye.
Davis, aye.
Motion passes.
Mr. President, I just want again to thank the council for taking my word on Mr. Delinas, and I will let him know, and I appreciate it. Thank you.
Okay, up next, discuss and consider town manager hiring process. All right, I put this on the agenda because I think it's about time we pick up the subject. It's been a long ride, and Brian Rosso has been dual-hatted for about 6 months now, or maybe 7 months, and he's been doing a fantastic job. He's been burdened with 2 workloads, and all the stress and worry that come with it. Doing both. I mean, I couldn't imagine handling both situations at once, especially during a budget season and a coronavirus pandemic. So I kind of want to open a discussion up as far as how we should go about it. I believe, did we all receive the memo on the hiring process?
That's, I did.
Bob, you did? Okay.
Yeah.
Mr. President, if I could, if you're referring to my memo, that was privileged. So I prefer we don't discuss that.
All right. All right, perfect. All right, so so are we all in agreement that that it's time to post for the job?
I think that's the biggest negative of the council, that we haven't addressed that issue. I think it's important that we do advertise for town manager, and we follow the credentials specified in the town charter, and we shouldn't go beyond that, because I think what we need to do, people are more than just credentials. Whoever the town manager is the face of the town government. But not only that, the town council runs the town through the town manager. So we need not only somebody who is qualified to be the town manager, but also understands the proper role of the town manager versus the town council. And that's a big concern with me. So, and everybody has different personalities. So I'm looking for a person that has good skills, people skills, beyond the expected skills spelled out in the town charter, and somebody that's going to defer to the town council in setting policy, and they maintain the day-to-day operation of the town council. The only thing that concerns me about town managers, and I can't say that about Bill McGarry, and I can't say that about Brian, is to have a town manager that undercuts the town council and goes in a certain direction. We all should know what our responsibilities are and what our authorities are, and honor that and respect that. That's all but that would come out in the interviews and when we check these people out. So I do think we should advertise for a town manager with the credentials set forth by the town charter. And we should decide on who we want to interview. Thank you.
Thank you, Scott. Is there any other discussion? Anything? Again, this, I mean, trying to think here.
Chair.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think we should fall inside the guidelines as Attorney Seifel has put out. And, we want to, we kind of want to get somebody that has maybe done it a little bit before, maybe somebody prior to has done it. That's always a big help. The rule of thumb is the more of the time you got in the saddle, sometimes that's always better. But I think we follow the guideline, and we interview. We all, as a group, all 5 of us, sit down and interview the person. And maybe I realize we're still under the COVID guidelines a little bit, but maybe do an in-place interview.
Mr. President, what I'd like you to do is a suggestion. And I've studied public administration. I was a poli-sci mixture. What we should do is come up with a questionnaire, and we also come up with some questions for that questionnaire, what different things we would expect from a town manager. Not, beyond, not their resume and with their education experience, but how they view the office, and have they looked at the town charter, and what's their feel about the role of the town council versus their role, and things of that nature, really basic stuff. And I think we should have a questionnaire, and their ability to work with that type of supervision and responsibility.
I agree. And also, I know in the town charter that we have to, when we advertise, we have to advertise a pay range. So I don't know if that's something that we discuss now, or something that can be discussed at an executive session. I'm not sure about that.
I think we can talk about that publicly, as long as we don't talk about personalities or contracts or anything of a legal nature.
Right.
We should talk about everything in public. My question is to get good candidates, and I think we should, usually there's like professional magazines they advertise in. What I would like to do is put this on our next council agenda, so we can have some prices of what advertising is going to cost from either Lisa or Brian to do all these things. And we'd get a better feel about how we're going to proceed. And what I would think that the council should be doing right now is come up with ideas for a questionnaire that we'll want people to answer, that we think is what we're consider in hiring, what type of traits or questions. But right now, I think the immediate concern of the council on this issue is to get some prices on advertising and things of that nature. We've hired town planners in the past, town managers in the past, and there's a history there already. So I think we should look at that. But right now, I think the immediate concern of the council is coming up with some where we want to advertise and how do we approach it from that perspective. And at our next meeting or a special meeting, we address that. Thank you.
Thanks, Scott. Is there any other discussion?
I think we pretty much nailed that one down.
So I just ask you to put it on the next town council agenda, and hopefully we'll have at least some ideas of what the cost of advertising will be. And hopefully Lisa will be able to draw out some past hiring situations for town managers, and we can talk about it then. So we can have all the documentation in front of us and we can prepare for it. I think that's the best approach.
I think that's a pretty good approach. Does everyone else think that's a pretty good approach?
Works for me, Mr. President.
Yeah, this is Bob. Yeah, that sounds good.
Attorney Seipel, do you think that's the proper route? I mean, based on what you've shared with us?
Yes, sounds fine to me.
Okay, excellent. All right, and Sharon, do you have anything to add? Yay, nay? Sound good?
It sounds good. If you look at the information from the town clerk dated September 25th, 2020.
Yep.
That's what she, it has the town charter and the description of what the duties are. And I think for a job of this nature, we probably need to provide that whole thing.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure.
You'd probably make it something. You still would have to kind of condense it for the advertising. You don't. It's not going to be 7 pages long that you're advertising. So.
Yeah, but if you're doing advertising, you can always post that information on the town website and just refer to it.
Yeah, that's right.
So it's very easy to get around that.
Yeah, that's good.
Okay,
So I'm okay with the next meeting.
All right, and then we'll task the town office with gathering all the information and putting it together for us to figure out. So I think that's a good first step in the process, and that should work. Excellent. But in the meantime, I definitely want to thank Brian, publicly for the work that he's put in.
I'd like to second that. I think that's an excellent job.
President, Council Gary, I think all of us can concur on what Brian's done. He's done an unbelievable job in such an atmosphere between all of a sudden stepping up, COVID, trying to make everything run on a day-to-day basis. He's done the above and beyond. And I know myself, I'm grateful, and I'm sure the other councilors are too.
Thank you for sharing that, Council Gary.
Hey, Steve?
Yes.
Sorry, I had my hand raised. I didn't know if it's. I just wanted to say that it was an honor to serve the council, and I think it's only fair for me to give credit to the department heads. The last 6 months, they've all really stepped up. Lisa, Jim, Dave Caswell, Mary Sawyer, all of them have done their part to really help me out and fill the void. So I just wanted to mention that they've done a stellar job. So definitely appreciate all their help.
Excellent. Thank you, Brian.
Yep. Thank
As
you.
always. All right. So with that being discussed, we can move on to public forum, I think. So if you are in the public and you would like to speak, please hit *9 to raise your hand. And then when you're called, *6 to unmute yourself. This looks like Mr. Moreau's phone number. Joe, just state your name for the record, please.
Hi, this is Joe Moreau. I would like to thank Attorney Seipel and Brian Rosso for responding to one of my emails recently. I'd also like to thank Brian for all of his hard work, as the council members have discussed. One thing you haven't discussed is the fact that myself and Brian are going through a difficult time with the New York Yankees, and I'll just leave it at that at this point. It has been very difficult lately to receive answers to some of my questions from some members of our council and our planning board. Our planning board has definitely changed in its operating procedures. I appreciate our town council president allowing residents to speak during these public forums. My comments are for informational purposes, and I don't expect a discussion unless you choose to have one. At the planning board meeting on June 2nd of this year, I asked through the chair for answers to 2 questions concerning site visits and also what the process was with the planning board attorney to answer questions from the residents. That was at 1.34 mark of that video. I asked for answers that night, and before I knew it, there was a discussion to adjourn the meeting. My questions were never answered. That night, I sent an email to a town council member discussing my concerns. As of today, no response from that town council member. On June 3rd, I sent an email to the planning board chair, planning board attorney, and the planning board town council liaison. No response. I stated in the email that the residents pay the salary of the planning board attorney, and we deserve answers to our questions. I also forwarded the email to 13 others, and I received a response from 5. On June 2nd, I left a voicemail for Al DiOrio, who returned my call the next day. We had a very good discussion, and Al explained that the board has been issued new guidelines not to respond to questions concerning projects before the board. That is a 360-degree change from what it was like before. I wish that the planning board attorney had discussed the new guidelines months ago. I suggested in my email on June 3rd that the planning board attorney should explain the changes at a future meeting. Our residents deserve answers to their questions. No response so far from the planning board attorney. As I said earlier, I appreciate the time that our council president has allowed our residents to speak. If we want more residents to be involved on boards, commissions, we need to listen to their concerns and questions. It's obvious with the planning board that things have changed so dramatically that you cannot get answers to your questions. And I hope that change does improve and that we can move forward to better our town. Thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Joe.
You're welcome.
If there's anyone else in the public who would like to make a comment?
Steve, this is Councilor Gary. Can I make a comment on Joe's?
You sure can.
I kind of like, it's kind of 180 out from government. I'm a little concerned that the planning attorney would make a statement like that without consulting us. I mean, I realize there's some things we don't talk about with the public. There's very good reason for that. But if there's a simple question being asked, I don't see a problem. But very concerning that Attorney Hogan would make a statement like that. And it's a little concerning that Al DiOrio would make a statement like that if he did. That's all I got.
Well, all I can say is, Scott Bill Hirsch, I will confess, I'm absolutely not a New York Yankees fan, but I picked up a couple of things at a local thrift store in Westerly, and I've given them to Joe Moreau. So for full disclosure, let me confess to that.
And Joe, if you want to come over and pet one of my emotional goats at the farm for good luck for the Yankees, you're more welcome to.
All right.
Mr. President.
Hold on 1 second, Scott.
You have any more? Because I want to make an adjournment.
Yeah, hold on 1 second. Joe, if you want to respond, I'll give you a chance.
Yeah, the only thing I want to make clear is that Al was very respectful and responded to my phone call. If someone, if the town council president chose to do this or someone wanted to have a conversation with Al, he would certainly explain it to you. It's basically that the guidelines have changed, and I don't agree with that. I mean, if it was stated up front that things would change, I would have, discussed this much earlier. But just to not answer a question, and basically, I just want to explain one of my questions. It was about site visits and who, dates of the site visits and who would be allowed to go on site visits. I asked the question of what would happen if a resident showed up on a site visit, who would tell that person that they could not attend the site visit with the reps and the planning board? No response, a very simple question. Again, I encourage you, please, to listen to that video at the 134 mark that I mentioned. It's very disappointing. I've been involved long enough to realize when you're being stonewalled on questions, and that is the case in this example. I understand there's certain policies that we have to follow, as Councilor Geary mentioned, but a simple question and it can't be answered. It's a good thing I'm persistent because I will continue to follow all of the meetings and then not have any response from the liaison of the planning board. It's just, where are we going, guys? Steve has gone out of his way and the rest of the council members to get residents involved in our town, to look for board members. And if we're going to start curtailing what people can say and not answer the questions, it's not Al's fault. It really isn't. I was hoping I'd get a response from Attorney Hogan, but again, benefit of the doubt, she may be on vacation, a holiday week, I don't know, but I have not had any responses from that at all. But again, thank you for what you do. That's all.
Okay, Mr. President, is all right?
Go ahead, Scott. I don't see any hands up.
Okay, before I make the motion to adjourn, I want to explain that we have very sad news that I learned when I came to Town Hall this evening, that our town clerk's mother has died, and I'm going to be adjourning for her memory. So think of Lisa and her family at this sad time. Lisa's grandfather, the late Joseph Patnord, was tax collector in the town of Hopkinton for many years. And in fact, Lisa's first husband graduated from high school with me. He was on the town council and got killed in an accident. So she's around service to the town of Hopkinton for a long, long time. And so just with that background, Mr. President, I move that the Hopkinton Town Council adjourn in memory of Patricia Patnode Harrison.
Do I have a second?
Second, Mr. President.
All in favor?
First, aye. Gary, aye.
Marvel, aye.
Davis, aye.
And Moffat, aye. This meeting is adjourned. Thank you, everyone.
Good